What is up, everyone? Welcome into another edition of our NFL DFS DraftKings picks videos, this time for week 8. I am your host, Justin Bales, joined by Ben Hostler and Matty Ice. How are you guys doing tonight?
Awesome. Happy to be here. I love that Ben's over there just sweating NBA and just cursing out Anthony Davis. So he's having a good night.
Yeah, we got the hard ciders rolling, tilting Anthony
There we go.
Davis. There's no better way to spend a night. I mean, am I right?
That's exactly
Not
how you
wrong.
have to do it. Before we get started, if I make any weird faces, I have a serious back injury. I feel like Mike Tyson. You guys know that video after he's fighting and he just like screams into the microphone, "I broke my back."
Yeah.
Wow.
That's me
The
right
best
now.
is like CJ McCollum when he was saying it, like him and Dame. That was even funnier than the original video. But yes.
So, I mean, if you guys have not watched this podcast before, we're not here to talk about broken backs and hard cider. We will be talking about NFL picks for DraftKings. Essentially what we do is go through each position. We'll talk about stacks as well. Maybe give a bold call. Depends on how we're feeling by the end of the night. But if you enjoy our content, enjoy our video, please give this a thumbs up. You can subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications so you don't miss any of our videos that come out. Obviously, we have a lot coming out daily for the NBA, and then we have our weekly stuff along with the cash process, which is already uploaded for NFL. Leave any comments, questions you have below in the comments. We will answer those throughout the week. Any of us, if you have a question for one in specific, just let us know. We'll make sure that it gets answered. You can find all of our stuff at dfskarma.com. That includes our core plays, our projections, free articles. Now Ben has a premium article. We also have Final Thoughts, which is behind the paywall for our core play subscribers, which you can get that on the website as well. Anything that you need, including our free Discord chat. I was going to say DFS chat, but Discord chat also talks sports betting, can be found in the description below. The links are all there. So I guess that about does it for all of the intro work, and we can get to some actual plays. Starting off at quarterback, let's go with Ben this week. Who are you looking at?
Yeah. So early on in the research process, obviously, we're doing this Wednesday night, but I think in terms of like cash game pool, I think it comes down to Josh Allen for me, number one, and probably Jalen Hurts, number two. I went into detail about those guys on yesterday's video. Cash process, you guys can go watch that. But Allen, both of them feel too cheap relative to what I view their ceiling as. I think the one hole you can poke in Hurts is that I do think at some point he'll probably get benched. Not sure if that'll happen this week. It's still pretty early. Detroit's so bad, right? Like if there's any chance for them to have a good offensive game, it's probably this week. So it probably won't happen this week, but I do think that's one thing to keep in mind. So I'm not going to drag on and talk about the cash game plays. I'm going to talk about more just guys that I think are in good spots and I might end up putting in my tournament teams. Number one, Tom Brady. And number two, I'm going to stick in that same low 7K tier, and I'm going to go with Justin Herbert. So Brady, I mean, dude, he just throws the ball so much, right? Still leading the league in pass attempts. You can say whatever you want about the matchup, but the way that the Bucks have been playing offensively, it's kind of forcing these teams to like they're not really getting stuck in any of these slow-paced games, right? Because they're keeping their foot on the gas, and it's kind of forcing these teams to throw. So I'm actually going to be really curious to see what happens in this game against the Saints because it's really clear that Sean Payton wants to limit Jameis. They just traded for Mark Ingram. I don't know why. Like they traded for Mark Ingram, but it's just clear that not that I don't like. I understand they want to run the ball, but I mean it's Mark Ingram. You know, it's not like they were getting somebody good, but it's very clear they just want to be a run first team. But Brady's going to put up points, right? And I think they're going to keep the foot on the gas. I think it's going to force them to throw, and it's just really hard to fade him right now. As far as Herbert goes, the Patriots. I've kind of been on this the last few weeks. I was all over the Patriots Cowboys game a few weeks ago. The Patriots have actually been playing decently fast over the last few weeks. I think that's actually like an attractive game. The over under it's up a point since open. It's at 48.5. I could see that rising a little bit more as the week goes on here. But I actually think Herbert's in a really good spot, and it's really easy to stack him because you know where the ball is going. Um, I think that's probably my favorite two as far as tournament plays go as of right now.
Yeah, I think those are really good calls. The only thing that I feel like I'm probably wrong in this situation, but I feel like I disagree with is I don't see Jalen Hurts getting benched. Why they're not going to bench him really for Gardner Minshew? Like, do they really want to see what they have in Minshew? Probably not, realistically.
I think they're going to, man. I mean, they just traded
Yeah,
Flacco, right?
yeah,
So,
because they're just going to allow Hurts to ride out the season, and then they'll make their decision. Like, I don't know.
dude,
There's just not
Jalen
much
Hurts
information there
started a
yet.
game last year, and then they like benched him, like when there was nothing to play for, right? I know that was a different coaching staff, like you can say all that stuff,
Yeah,
but
new coach that needs
Philly,
to.
Philly is
Just
just
said they
like,
don't care about
He's a
winning.
rookie too.
yeah, but dude, it's Philly. Like those fans are ruthless, right? Like if they continue to not win games and they're completely out of it, I do think they'll bench him and they'll just see what they have in Minshew. I don't. It's not like they have super like they didn't spend a first round pick on Hurts.
But they spent significantly more than they did on Minshew.
Yeah, but I mean, look at their team, right? They're set up with all these draft picks. I don't think that
Exactly.
he's gonna be like. I just don't think he's gonna be like. They're probably gonna address the quarterback situation in the offseason, like as right now. Whether I think that's a good decision or
Yeah.
not. So I think
No,
at some
no,
point, I think at some point they'll probably give Minshew a look. I could be wrong, but I just think that's something to consider, like as the season goes on. I don't think it's gonna happen this week, but
I agree that they're going to address the quarterback position in the offseason. That would make sense for them, just based on how Jalen Hurts is an elite fantasy option and not so elite real life quarterback. But I just don't see where they get the advantage. Like the only thing that I believe would get Hurts benched is pressure from the fans. But spoiler alert to the Eagles fans, they're not going to win this year. They're not good, is the problem. But I mean, we can move to Matt. Who are some of your top quarterback targets for this week?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly I think the obvious two plays, of course, are Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, like Ben mentioned. And you say it's chalk or it's cash, but we're not seeing any quarterback trending higher than 15% or something like that at the highest. Anyways, it's pretty flat from an ownership perspective usually every week on quarterbacks. So, and that's, by the way, that's like mostly dude if you're into if you're in a contest with multi lineups, it's because people are running multiple lineups and they code kind of each team as a Hertz lineup and then a Brady lineup and a Herbert lineup. So they're just really expanding their pool, so then it kind of expands from there as a whole. So I'm not too worried about ownership on even in tournaments. I have to agree with Brady. I mean, it's just almost stupid and disgusting what he's doing. I mean, they're up 35-3 in the fourth quarter last week, and Godwin got stopped at the 1, which was annoying because we all had Godwin exposure, and then Brady's chucking it, and he was so pissed that he didn't get a tutty. As if it mattered. It's like, Jesus Christ. So this type of stuff you just don't see very often. And if I mean he's the GOAT, so they're gonna let him do whatever he wants, and that's what he wants to do. It's also how you typically beat the Saints defensive scheme is through the air. And while Lenny can get them some things done on the ground, it's just kind of mixing it in more than anything. I think that you want to go for guys that are attempting a lot of passes down deep, and that's just like easy. I like a lot of the other top guys. I think Stafford should be mentioned without question. Another guy who's just chucking it a lot in the red zone. That's something that we like to look at from a passing perspective. If you look at attempts inside of the 10, he's right there, third in the league behind only Brady and Josh Allen. So I think Stafford, huge team total. I've been hearing chatter that people are not wanting to play Stafford just because of blowout risk, but it's like, but people are fine to play Josh Allen, and they are fine to play Josh Allen against the Texans when they were 15-point favorites a couple weeks ago. Yes, Josh Allen has more floor with his legs, but I mean, my God, Stafford is just printing this year. And then I do have one weird take on quarterback, and I found myself kind of landing there a couple times, which is so not like me. But it's actually Teddy Bridgewater, or in the Discord known as Teddy Goatwater. Shout out to, I can't remember, was it Ethan? Who was saying Teddy Goatwater all constantly last
This is
year?
our old pal Salmon, man.
Salmon, yeah, dude. I think he's from that area. So
yeah,
from New Orleans. But so anyways, like, dude, it's a good setup. Again, you beat Washington through the air. Denver's passing at the second highest rate over the last 3 weeks. He's getting back Jerry Jeudy, who looks good, by the way. I've been watching some hashtag watch the film of him in practice and stuff. He's making all the cuts. He's looking fast. Um, I want exposure to Jeudy as a sneak peek when we get to wide receiver section, but he's so cheap. He's 5,400. They're throwing the ball a ton. I mean, he's had weeks recently where he's getting in the mid-20s. So I know it sounds gross, but I think Bridgewater is actually in a decent spot. And he's got good weapons too. It's simple pairings you can set him up with a really cheap Jeudy, with a air yards king, Cortland Sutton. So there is weapons to pair with him. As gross as it sounds, actually I like Teddy.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. Bridgewater is someone that I kept going back and forth on because, it's just tough to actually put his name down and put money on it. But I'll continue to ugly this up a little bit. First off, I want to agree with you guys. I think you're basically on port with all the high price, Stafford, Brady. They can all be used. 100% down with them. Hurts, Allen are kind of the two that stick out above the rest. That's all correct. To ugly this up a little bit more, we can go down pretty cheap at 5,700. Carson Wentz gets a matchup against Tennessee, who's allowing the fifth most air yak in the NFL this year. It's a really good spot. For the Colts, I do obviously worry about Jonathan Taylor getting so many touches in the red zone. But if you look at the Colts prior to their last two blowouts, Carson Wentz threw 30 plus attempts in each of those games. He flashed some upside against Baltimore, even though he only threw for 2 touchdowns. So if by chance Wentz has that pop-off game where he can actually find the end zone instead of Jonathan Taylor, there is plenty of upside to be had, especially in a matchup against Tennessee. And then slightly below him, I'll go to the rookie quarterback against the Seattle Seahawks. Again, they're a very bad team in terms of air yak allowed. I think they allow slightly more than Tennessee. Trevor Lawrence obviously hasn't been overly good this season. He hasn't really found the end zone, more interceptions than passing touchdowns. But when you look at what he's done 2 weeks ago against Tennessee, 23 fantasy points. He's only 5,500. He has kind of a built-in floor with his rushing potential just because he generally sees it around like the 5+. Not always the case, but that's been kind of where he's been around for, 3 of the last 4 games. He has 2 rushing touchdowns in his last 3. And if you're scoring 23 fantasy points and you're not throwing for touchdowns as a quarterback, it just kind of shows that your ceiling is that much higher. At some point in time, I expect Trevor Lawrence to get his first multiple touchdown game. He's been sitting at 1 for who knows how long, the entire season, essentially. I think there's only 1 game where he didn't throw a touchdown. I actually lied. He threw 3 week 1 against the Houston Texans, and he dropped 25 fantasy points without any rushing. Since then, he has thrown 1 in every game except for 1. He's thrown 0. We have, Shenault, Marvin Jones has looked good. Dan Arnold adds a little bit, at least slightly, at tight end. And then you obviously have James Robinson. So the weapons are reasonable, at least in my opinion. And at 5,500, I think you honestly can do worse. The big issue, I would say, is obviously a rookie quarterback heading into Seattle, but it's not a defense at the moment that you're overly scared of. So just kind of 2 more cheap guys if you want to get a little bit weird in tournaments that I feel like are decent. Do either of you guys have any opinions on either of those players?
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I like Wentz. I've been looking at him and trying to plug my nose and consider it. We obviously got to monitor to see if T.Y. Hilton is going to be in or out. I think, I think probably I would prefer him be in. Obviously, if I'm playing Wentz, obviously I like the Pittman play a lot more without T.Y. Yeah, I don't mind Trevor Lawrence coming off the bye week rest against a short week Seattle team. I don't know that they're going to have to pass a ton. I don't know if that offense is going to be moving too well without Russ. It certainly hasn't so far. I might be more convinced to play J. Robinson in that position than Trevor, but I guess we'll see as the week goes on.
Ben?
Yeah. I have one play in that range that I like slightly more. I think you could sell me I think you can sell me on Wentz probably more so than Lawrence. I think they're similar plays. I just worry about the overall like pace of those games, but I could see them having good games for sure. I think especially if they obviously are efficient in terms of touchdowns. The guy I like in that range is Sam Darnold. I think that game might actually go over like the total. I think the bet of the over in that game is a good bet. Carolina's actually been playing decently fast, and if you think back to the beginning of the season, people loved Sam Darnold, right? They're like, "Oh my gosh, he got away from Adam Gase, like he's cured." And really, like the only problem with him in recent weeks is how bad the Panthers' offensive line has been, and they've kind of just been limiting what he can do because he's always under pressure. But if you look at the Falcons, they're third worst in pressure percentage in terms of defense. So he should have some time to throw. Obviously, it's an attackable secondary. We like DJ Moore with McCaffrey out. I think DJ Moore's going to be low owned. And then we have easy like guys we can run that back with in both Ridley and or Kyle Pitts. So I think Sam Darnold for cheap also is a pretty good play.
That's interesting. I actually considered him, when writing my article and stuff. He ultimately didn't make it. I might change that in the Friday update. I did consider him. I do like the matchup a bit, but I don't know. It just wasn't someone that I really
like. I know like
on.
the total's
He
down
got
a
benched
point.
last week. I mean, are we going to bury the lead and not mention he got fucking benched last week?
Yeah, but I mean, if I'm playing tournaments, like I'm kind of like banking on him having a good day, right? Like I'm not saying you should play him in cash, but
Yeah.
if there's a spot for him to have a good
there. I think
if there's a spot for him to have a good
upside's
game,
there, and we know it is.
yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
This is like the spot for a good game.
You can talk about Jalen Hurts getting benched for 15 minutes. But you're not going to mention the guy who just got benched.
For sure, dude. It's definitely a risk, but I know the
Yeah.
total's down a point, but I think I like the over here, dude. Like I like over 46. I know it's.
I just wish you could connect with Robbie. Yeah, I just wish you could connect.
You can use Robbie Anderson too, man. I'm not gonna quit him. I'm not quitting him until we get the big game, dude. I'm not quitting him.
Dude, he's never coming.
You gotta stay strong, dude. Just stay strong.
Listen, I get to watch every Panthers game now. That's just the team that's on
we
here.
get the Bales hometown narrative now. It's even better.
Listen,
Robbie
Anderson is open all the time. Darnold can't hit him.
It's bad. It's like a joke. It's a circus.
It's week 8, man. Trust.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to running back. Before I head to either of you two to give your overall feel, just one thing, because I feel relatively strongly, not a ridiculous amount or anything, and I just kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on this. Alvin Kamara and Derrick Henry, right now they're projecting for similar ownership. I think Kamara is like slightly ahead of him in most projections. Which of those two are you using? Because it feels like the perfect matchup for Derrick Henry in terms of it's not going to be a blowout. They're going to use him for all 4 quarters. Obviously, he's a massive part. And then on Kamara, very clearly, New Orleans is not going to try to run the ball against Tampa Bay. Literally no one does. But at the same time, they give up a ton of yak. And obviously, that's where Alvin Kamara, kind of like DeAndre Swift last week, can shine. So which one of those two, if you're paying up for one of the two, are you guys more focused on?
I guess, I mean, I don't want to cop out and say neither, but I don't think I'm going to play either one of them maybe at all this week, which I don't know. Maybe that's a hot take. We'll see. It's still early, but all my lineup builds are just floating towards, going towards Cooper Kupp exposure, some other mid 6K range receivers, coming down a little bit at running back, which we'll talk about. So I'm just not landing on either of them. If I had to choose, it's so recency bias going for Kamara after that big game in prime time, but probably that game environment. I'd probably go Alvin Kamara on the full PPR set like DK. I'll just touch on Henry real quick. I mean, every time I talk shit about his matchup, he probably just scores 50 points. But I mean, it's really not a good matchup. I mean, it's their number 1 DVOA against the run. That is Indy. They are giving up the lowest percentage of rushing touchdowns, and obviously the highest percentage of passing touchdowns in the league through 7 weeks. And it's just the last couple of weeks, Tannehill's looking good. They exploded way higher. on their what's the stat was? Oh, it was on one of the play fakes and some other setups they're doing on offense. But basically, the last couple of weeks, Tannehill's just looked way better, and it's shown, with AJ Brown as well. So I don't know. I'm staying away from Henry from the matchup. I mean, is he kind of matchup proof? Yeah, of course. But with their big increase in play action and the efficiency from Tannehill recently, I want to just stay on that trend a little bit. And then again, Kamara, man, like you said, it's hard to run on Tampa. Of course, I can just throw him 15 swing passes and see what he can do with it. But I don't know, Ben, are you looking to any of those as a priority?
Yeah, you can play Henry every week, certainly. First look for me, at least for like my main team, I was trying to get to Cooper Kupp and Kamara both. Tampa gives up third most catches to running backs. They've allowed the second most yak in the league. Kamara's top 10 in yak. Winston, the last 2 weeks, has kind of buried the narrative that he doesn't throw to running backs right, which was kind of the narrative coming into the season, but that's clearly been addressed the last few weeks. So I think if I'm picking one, Kamara for sure, but I am trying to get him in as of right now.
I mean, this is the type of stuff we have to be honest with ourselves about. How much of that is because of what happened in the last game?
Yeah, well, think? I mean,
now part of it matters. Part of that matters. You got to be able to see that the player can do the things you want him to do. But I just don't think it should matter. It should be really low.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms career-wise, Kamara's always been a great yak guy. Obviously, I do think Tampa struggles, just the way they scheme defensively. They're gonna just give up catches, short intermediate catches, which I think is good. And I think if you're looking ahead, more importantly, just talking correlation standpoint, if you look ahead to receiver, Antonio Brown is not going to play in this game, right? So we're probably going to be pretty interested in the Tampa pass catchers. So just correlation standpoint, it probably makes sense to want to play him anyways, because you're probably going to be invested in the other side of the game.
True. That's true. Yeah, especially any Brady lineups. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was leaning towards, if I had to, for sure, Kamara, but okay. Yeah, I got to look at that a little bit further. You're right. I mean, they're being targeted. That is the running back's third highest rate.
I mean, I don't think he's a must play, but I don't know. I mean, I always seem I don't know. I just feel like I always spend up for one running back.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to think about it, but early lean, I definitely want Kamara in if I can get him.
Okay. As far as other running backs I'm looking at, I was really high on. I played DeAndre Swift in all my lineups last week.
It was a great call. That was a great call for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was lucky to just fully fade, Chuba Hubbard and just stay on my conviction with Swift. Dude, I mean, I had Swift in every lineup. I had Chase in my main lineup. In my non-Chase lineup, I had CJ Uzoma. Okay, I only played 3 lineups. And I lost money last week. It's
it's
okay.
crazy, dude.
Okay,
dude, I late swapped to a guy that scored 3 touchdowns and couldn't salvage my day. It's
that was
crazy.
The best. I was pulling out the Sam Sherman line, just time to go lay on the train tracks. What else do you want from me here? I just nutted all these plays, but then I just got totally destroyed on the rest of my core. So, it was so gut punching, but. I do obviously like Swift again this week. It's a wonderful matchup against Philly. Philly's given up a lot of production to running backs in the receiving game as well. I mean, it's hard to hate that price as well. Yeah, they finally priced him up off that mid 6K range, but 7,100. Yeah, it's going to be hard to fade him. Darrell Henderson's going to be huge chalk. I literally, what are they doing? He's 6,500. I mean, I know he didn't really do much last week, but with a 32-point team total, what is it? I haven't checked it as of last. 30.75, almost 31-point team total, big favorite. I mean, really, he's 6,500. How do you not play Hendo? That's going to be tough not to. And then my other guy that I'm looking at a lot, I have a interesting take on just fading Gainwell if Sanders is out. I know that might be that is probably a hot take. People are going to gravitate towards there, but dude, Sanders, yeah, he started off good last week. I get that. We don't know if that was going to continue. I mean, it hasn't been that way all year. Miles Sanders, he didn't get it done. Why do we think Gain was going to get it done? Boston Scott had a lot of run after Miles went down. The play I'm interested in, believe it or not, is Eli Mitchell. I love that zone running scheme with San Fran. Chicago's not that strong against the run. They have some interior line injuries that they're dealing with, and I know it's on the road, but Eli Mitchell's getting fed, man. They didn't even give Trey Sermon a single touch. They spend this draft capital on this really promising young back. The entire running back crew depth chart gets decimated to injuries, and they're like, nah, we'll go with this guy. The 6th round guy. Oh yeah, he's good. They don't care, man. Shanahan just wants to put it in the belly of the guy who looks the best, and obviously Shanahan's maybe the best mind in the NFL for run schemes, and it's the Eli Mitchell show. I think that with Fields having a lot of problems, there's going to be some short fields, no pun intended, for San Fran. And I know it's not like a real DK play because he doesn't get a lot of targets, but I think Eli Mitchell is set up again this week. I mean, maybe does he do 100 yards and the touchdown? Yeah, I think that's totally in his range of outcomes. And he's 5,400? So I don't know if you guys were thinking about Eli, but I definitely am.
Bales, I'll let you go first because since you host, you kind of don't get to talk as much. So I'll let you go first because I do have someone I don't think you're gonna mention him. I do have someone I like at running back that I don't think you're gonna mention. So you can go second.
All right. In terms of Eli Mitchell, I do actually like him as well. I think he's a really good play. He's just way too cheap, especially if he's going to be the real featured back. And that's kind of the thing. I know that me and Matt have kind of been on these going back and forth where we've discussed players that don't catch the ball in DraftKings, just get no respect. And if they're scoring touchdowns, honestly, it doesn't matter that much. Some guys that stick out to me in kind of a weird spot. I wouldn't necessarily say he would be my number one play or anything, but in a weird spot where he's really not going to get ownership. Joe Mixon at 6,900. I know we have a little bit of concern. Last week he only saw 12 touches. To me, instead of, kind of feeling like he's not going to get the ball, I feel more like that was kind of a week to rejuvenate him. The week prior, he saw 23 touches total. We literally just saw what Damian Harris did against the Jets run defense. It's atrocious. It's been atrocious the entire season. And if they're just going to feed Joe Mixon, I feel like he's just in a really good spot. Obviously, the big concern is that they can use, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, all to get up early. And then, they don't really need to risk Mixon, who obviously has dealt with plenty of injuries throughout his career, and they could just use Samaje Perine the way that they did before. But I do think that in tournaments, it's really worth a shot there. Speaking of Damian Harris, he's now up to 6,100, which is getting pretty pricey. But if you look at what he's done outside of the matchups against New Orleans and Tampa Bay, where literally everyone in the world projected that he wasn't going to run well, specifically with his style, I believe he's averaging about 18 DraftKings points per game, coming off of 106 yards, 2 touchdowns on only 14 carries against the Jets. That could have been just a ridiculous game. I believe J.J. Taylor scored 2. One of them was from the 1, and Brandon Bolden caught a touchdown. So, I mean, imagine if Damian Harris had gotten even just the 2 J.J. Taylor touchdowns, and you're saying that he's not going to catch the ball. He had 2 receptions last week, but you're saying he wasn't going to catch a touchdown. His price would either 1, be significantly higher, or 2, he would be projecting for much more ownership, just based purely on the fact that he would have scored 4 touchdowns in that week and gets a good matchup against the Los Angeles Chargers, who they're kind of the defense where they drop 2 safeties back deep and they basically say, run the ball against us. And if you can, they kind of play up a little bit more, but they're going to give New England chances early in the game to just pound the rock. That obviously is going to be Damian Harris. And at 6,100 without much ownership at all, I feel like he's a really strong tournament option. The big problem is now I'm rethinking this with Eli Mitchell being 700 cheaper. I feel like you're getting a similar player, maybe slightly worse matchup, but at least a similar player for almost $1,000 cheaper. So I guess the only other guy that I would mention, I think that you're really choosing between Zach Moss and Devin Singletary. Miami is really bad against the run. It gives you leverage off of Josh Allen, who's going to be a chalky quarterback. Stephon Diggs could also get some ownership out receivers. So going with a running back, I do think makes quite a bit of sense if I'm choosing. But it has to be Zach Moss. He's just getting the snaps. He's getting more high quality touches than Singletary, even though, I still hold firm that Singletary is the better running back of the duo. Zach Moss is the fantasy play at the moment. But those are three guys that are kind of high upside and going a bit overlooked on this slate. So Ben, shifting to you, where are you at?
I mean, I think you guys did a good job covering it. Like optimal plays, like Kamara, Swift, Henderson, too cheap. You guys did a great job covering that. Love the call on Mitchell as a pivot off of Gainwell. I think that's really sharp. I think you can use Mitchell like even in cash. Honestly, we'll see what's up with Akeem Hicks, but I do think Khalil Mack is definitely gonna miss this game for the Bears. I think that's a given.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he's out because they've been talking about putting him on IR maybe. So I think he's out.
Okay.
Hicks might be back. I think he practiced limited today. So we'll wait and see on that. But regardless, I do think that's a good play at 5,400. My number one play at running back outside Kamara is actually Najee Harris. He is 7,500. I don't know if he'll be owned. We'll see like ownership projections later in the week, but it's kind of like a weird range, right, in between someone like Henderson and Swift, and then obviously like Kamara and Henry up top. But if you look at just weighted opportunity rating at the running back position this season, number 1 and number 2, Kamara and Najee Harris, like we know he's getting all this usage. I think this game like sets up well for him, right? Like Cleveland is gonna rush Ben Roethlisberger. I think it makes sense for them dumping it off to him. And I went to the Browns game. This is like a in-person take, dude. This is great. I've never given an in-person take before.
Got
But
an in-person
I
take.
went to that
What
Thursday
did you see
night.
from the field,
Yeah,
baby?
yeah.
Give me
I
the
get
fucking
the
details.
bird's eye view at the stadium, and I made a mental note. Like the Browns' best linebacker is Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. He's out. And dude, Denver was carving them up, throwing it to running backs. I don't know why they didn't throw to them more, but Javonte Williams went 6 for 32 and a touchdown receiving against them. I think with him being out, like clearly their best linebacker, I think it just adds to the spot for him. You know that he's going to get targets. And with how bad their line has been, like I think this game just sets up well for him, and I don't think he's going to be owned. So I actually think he's probably my favorite play in tournaments.
Dude, I'm going to be at the Lions game, so next week I will bring you the on-field analysis of some Eagles and Lions players.
Dude, someone that like my family knows has season tickets to the Lions, so I need to get on that, and I'll come to a Lions game. Dude, let's go.
There you go, dude. Isn't Clowney? I know Clowney didn't practice today. He's got like an ankle and a knee.
Yeah, he's been banged up,
Is
and
he going to suit up?
I'm not sure exactly. He's been banged up, but dude, Steelers are coming off a bye week too.
Exactly.
This is a good spot for
Dude,
Najee.
I'm old school. I like that. I was going to mention, Bales mentioned Moss. The Bills are coming off a bye week as well, and when you have just a run game with just pure strength and pushing, off a bye week rest, dude, I love running games after bye week. So you get Robinson of the Jags, you get Zach Moss of the Bills, and then you get Najee of the Steelers, all coming off byes. So I definitely like that.
Yeah, that's 3 good options. We didn't really talk about Robinson that much. You kind of mentioned him when I said Lawrence. You said you would probably.
Yeah, the team total's so tough. He gets all the usage and all the high value looks. I don't mind that spot, especially with Geno Smith at quarterback. I don't mind it, but God, that the team total is just so gross. Is it 19 right now? I mean, I don't want to make that just pull me off of a play, and at 6,600, that's pretty good. But yeah, man, I should probably have some exposure to Robinson.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we can shift over to wide receiver, follow up by tight end, go over some stacks, and wrap this up. But at wide receiver, I will fully, cop out here. I'm telling you that Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, and Emmanuel Sanders are all in play. Miami struggles with air yards. Miami struggles against receivers that destroy man coverage. And Miami struggles with yards after the catch. That is Emmanuel Sanders, Stephon Diggs, and Cole Beasley. I'm not going to tell you which, 1 or 2 of the 3 to play, but all 3 of them, very good options. If I'm picking one, it's Stephon Diggs, just so we're all crystal clear on that. But I do like all 3. Ben, outline some of your favorite receivers here.
Yeah, I think, obviously Cooper Cup is like his own thing. You want to play him in cash. You can play him in tournaments too. I don't care about playing him and Henderson together, right? Matt noted earlier how high their team
Yeah.
total is. So I think you can certainly play those guys together. It really doesn't matter. Outside of him, I talked about it on the cash process, but I still really like T. Higgins at 5,200. I just think it's a clear misprice. People have seen Chase having these monster games. Might pull them off of Higgins, but coming into last week, he was highest on the team in target percentage when all three receivers were active. He saw 15 targets in that game. He doesn't have the high ADOT like Chase. Definitely a different type of player than Jamar Chase, but he certainly still has upside. He hasn't scored since week 2. The Jets is a really good matchup for him to get in the box, and if he gets in the box, I think he's going to destroy 5,200. I just think it's too cheap. So I really like him. Both the Bucks guys I think are fine. Godwin and Mike Evans. Mike Evans is it's kind of weird, man. Like he's had games where he's went up against Lattimore and Lattimore's completely shut him down, and then he's had games
Most
where
of the time.
yeah, but then he's had like a couple games where he's
Yeah.
owned Lattimore. It's really strange. Like those guys go at it. I think Godwin obviously at 6,400 is too cheap if AB's out. Like last week he was 5,900. He's like a 70, like probably mid sevens receiver, I would say, with AB out. So still a very clear value there. One of the best cash game plays on the slate, I would say. Outside of those guys, I think I'm more just filling in with stacks. Like DJ Moore, someone I'm going to be overweight on, right? I was talking about Darnold at QB. So I'm going to have a lot of DJ Moore. And then, I don't know, Matt, I think you probably. I'm going to go on a limb and say that you like AJ Brown, but I don't know for sure.
Ooh, ooh, baby. Arthur Juan Brown. Mm. Dude, the increase in play action, the increase in efficiency is healthier now. Unfortunately, Julio is just not in sync yet with Tannehill. Got love for Julio, but I still rather see Julio out there pull some coverage away from Arthur Juan Brown. Yeah, I already mentioned it. I mean, you got number one DVOA against the run, um, and again, they're giving up the highest percentage of passing touchdowns to opposing passing offenses. So I just think that it's setting up nicely. He's back. I think it's man. How do you not? And he's cheaper. Is he 69?
Yeah, he's
Last time, yeah,
cheaper than
60,
DJ Moore, man.
dude. And he's right, yeah, $100 under Mike Evans after coming off a 3 touchdown week. I'm hugely, God, I'm a massive Godwin fan. Again, he had the touchdown, 100+ yards. He got stopped at the 1. So he's right there for 2 tutties. Love this matchup. You beat New Orleans in the slot. Yeah, Gronk's coming back. I think more than anything that pulls a little bit away from Evans. Evans he can get a lot of his production on those 1 yard touchdown passes like he gets all the time.
Yeah,
With
that's
Brady.
literally like why I pivoted to him last week. I'm like, this guy,
Yeah.
he can get red zone targets when
Oh yeah.
Gronk is out. So
He's
I
he's
agree.
6'5" and he's big, but you got Gronk coming back likely now this week. So I think it pushes me even more to Godwin to move the football and then still get looks in the red zone like he often does. I mean, Godwin's third in the league in targets inside the 10. So it's not like he's getting ignored, not at all. He started the year with, was it 4 straight games with touchdown? I think, and he should have had. He's like 2 or 3 weeks where he should have had an additional touchdown. One got called back. He got stopped at the 1 more. He got stopped at the 1 more than once as well this year. So I just think that Godwin is just so strong. It wasn't 4 games to start the year. It was 4 straight games going back to last year. But whatever. But yeah. So I like Godwin. I mentioned Judy coming off injury. I know it was an ankle and those take time, but I mean, he was looking ready to go last week. Like they said he probably was, but then they just were playing it safe, and that was a Thursday night game. So then he had an additional 10 days, and he just looks really, really good in practice. I'll offer a stupid take on again another eye test thing, but I just thought T. Higgins looked horrible last week, man. I know he had 15 targets. He just looks bad. His contested catch effort is like so low and sluggish, and he just didn't go get anything. And his targets are not he's not getting these deep targets. Yeah, he did get multiple end zone looks, but I don't know. I think it's they're building the offense if they're going to be passing around Chase, which is why I was so high on Chase last week. Also, just a little side tip, because it really worked. It doesn't mean it's always going to work. But you look at PFF grades for tackling, and it's like, well, that's just like, what do you mean tackling? Well, dude, there's missed tackles in this league, and people breaking tackles. And if you're watching the highlights of last week, Chase was just breaking so many tackles and just housing it. He'd only had one deep target, 20 yards or more last week, which was unlike Chase for the type of game he normally has. They weren't even targeting him deep. They're just throwing it to him quickly and letting him just run past people. So Baltimore has the second lowest tackle rate or tackle grade, and it makes sense. So kind of attacking that stat on a weekly basis with receivers that have yak ability is something that I'm going to continue to look for. And if we want to stay on that trend, really low tackle grade, the lowest is Houston Texans. And we have Cooper Kupp getting the most air yards he's gotten in any game, which was last week against, again, horrible defense in the Lions. They're fourth lowest tackle grade, massive favorites, and people may be worried about playing Cooper Kupp as a huge favorite. Don't be worried. It's the same situation this week. It's a better matchup, even with Houston, and so obviously I love Cooper Kupp. He gets the best matchup by far in the slot there. I mentioned Judy coming off injury. I think it's again, you want to attack Washington, through the air. We mentioned some of the other top play. I think that's about. I mean, obviously I mentioned AJ Brown. I think that's like I want to keep kind of a tight core. There's not much value this week, which is kind of shocking to me. I do like going as low as Beasley. I think with no Dawson Knox, I do like Beasley to absorb some more red zone targets. He's third on the team with red zone targets, but second on the team is Dawson Knox. So you kind of take him out, and there's Beasley. So I do like going down to him. He's 49. I mentioned Pittman. Maybe if Ty's out, you can certainly like the Pittman in that game that might ping pong more than people think, with Tennessee and Indy. Other than that, I don't know. I usually have a much wider wide receiver pool than I do, but this week it's a little bit more narrow. What are you looking at this week, Bales, as far as plays that we didn't mention?
Yeah, I mean, you guys covered a ton. Most of the stuff I would say you guys covered. I think you can go with someone like Brandon Cooks just because Houston obviously is going to be down. They're going to be throwing the ball. I actually do like Devonta Smith if you're going to pair him with Jalen Hurts. I'm not scared of Detroit's defense. They give up a ton of air yards, and Devonta Smith, obviously, we know has upside. I guess the one guy that I really do want to point out, and if you're watching this on actual YouTube, let me just break out the lights.
Yes.
There we go.
Let's go.
For this particular play.
42 minutes in, the lights are on.
The Washington football team are allowing a league high 1,379 air yards. No one else is even close. Next closest is Miami, almost 100 behind them. Jerry Jeudy comes back this week, but Courtland Sutton has almost 50% of Denver's air yards. His ADOT is over 16. Jerry Jeudy is coming off of an ankle injury. What is not to love about Courtland Sutton this weekend?
I think I rattled it off earlier, called him the air yards king, Courtland Sutton. Yeah, man, it's a good spot. I mean, he's just the 1 week removed from back-to-back 23 and 28 point weeks, touchdowns in both games, 11 and 14 targets. So why are you not playing Bridgewater with me then? Come on. It's all there.
I don't trust Bridgewater. I just trust Sutton.
Fucking, he's the GOAT. Okay. All right.
All right.
Hey, we should also mention Van Jefferson. Last week he had I guess it's career high in snaps and routes run. And there is a weird path to if there's a blowout happening, maybe they do sit Woods, maybe they sit Kupp, and maybe Van gets to run an extra quarter. Who knows? But they were forcing the ball last week. They talked about wanting to getting him more involved. They threw him a fade inside the 10 and he caught it for a touchdown. So I think Van Jefferson is also someone to look for down deep there. What is he priced at this week? Is he like 39 or is he
39? Yeah.
39. Yeah. God, that might be the best low cost play.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
also need to talk about Cooks. He's going to project really well, right, with all the usage he's been seeing. I will say the Texans activated Tyrod, I believe. I saw it was like they didn't know if he was going to be back this week or not, or if it was going to be next week. But if Tyrod's in, I'm more interested in Cooks than I am if it's still Davis Mills. So if we
Yeah,
get
he's
news,
playing. Yeah, I think he's playing. He practiced today.
okay,
I think it's all signs are pointing towards Tyrod coming back.
yeah. So if Tyrod's back, I'm significantly more interested in Cooks at 5,700 for sure.
Okay.
are we, and this might be, kind of reaching for straws or something, but are we at all concerned with that tweet that went out earlier that Brandon Cooks
Yeah,
isn't going to play
you get
this
the
week or
angry.
something?
Now we're getting angry Cooks now, dude.
Oh,
It's even
you're thinking
better.
it's a good thing.
Yeah, now he's fired up.
He wants
He's
out,
like,
but
I
he also
gotta
wants
get
out.
out of here, dude.
All right.
Well, you're right. He's got an audition, right?
Dude,
That's
it
fair.
doesn't even matter. They just throw him the ball like that. That's all they have. Dude. They just throw. It's crazy. Like if you look at a percentage of teams' air yards, right? Like him and McLaurin are first, but they're 5% higher than anyone else. And he's got almost
Mhm.
50% of the team's air yards. Like they have nothing else.
Yeah, no,
Dude,
it's
they're talking.
crazy.
There's rumors of him going to KC. Can you imagine Mahomes throwing the Cooks? Oh, and Tyreek. Oh, baby.
Yeah, I think KC needs someone like that, right? Like more trustable than Mecole, even though we like Mecole, like a
Right.
little more trustable than that. I do think they need something like that.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that.
I don't know if trustable is a word.
Also,
I think I
mean,
was looking for
I don't.
I
reliable,
think.
but
Yeah.
you know,
I think not. Yeah.
I think
It's okay.
reliable's
I-
All
better,
good.
but it's all right.
I think we
Keep
can
it going. Roll.
speak
We'll
it
be all right.
speak it into existence here with Brandon Cooks in Green Bay. Let's just shoot for that.
There you go. They could use him. Yeah.
Moving to tight end. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but just looking at tight end, there's so many plays because none stand out as not even necessarily a must. None stand out as like, oh, that's exactly where I'm going here. Even like multiple of them, and there's just a bunch of relatively good tight end plays this week, I feel like. So let's start with Matt. What are you looking at tight end? And I mean, I guess, do you feel the same way, or do you actually think that like there's very specific ways that you're going here?
Yeah, I do think I'm going to be pretty specific, and this is just on a lot of different builds. I kind of want to take a polarized approach with it. I either want to be paying all the way up for Kyle Pitts. It's so annoying that he finally does what he should do on a island game in England. Yeah, I don't. You don't want to know how much I lost on him on player prop bets so far this year. And then of course, yeah, whatever. So either going all the way with Pitts because he's just a dominant freak receiver, at for 6,300 in a decent matchup. I mean, you can attack Carolina through the air, especially with tight ends. So again, he's kind of more of a slot receiver. So I either want to go all the way up. I don't like the next couple options so much. I mean, I always love Gesicki. I don't like that price. It's kind of no man's land. You can make an argument for Dallas Goedert now getting like 90+% of the snaps after Zach Ertz left. Certainly a very beatable defense in Detroit. I think that it's the kind of the most logical stacking pair with Jalen Hurts. Yeah, Devontae Smith is there as well, of course, but I think Dallas Goedert carries more touchdown equity. But I like kind of just going lower. It's gross, but I think it's going to be a thing. I think Dan Arnold might be a thing. He's got 13 targets in 2 games. He's playing all the snaps. He's on there for all the routes. I think you could do worse than Dan Arnold. I mean, at 2,800, it's kind of hard to argue for 2,800. Ricky Seals-Jones, again, we talk about him every week. He had the second most targets from the slot last week, behind only Cooper Kupp. All right, RSJ did, so I think that, again, if I'm high on Denver to put some points up, especially through the air, which takes less time off the clock, I should be looking for some bring back options. And with the pressure that Denver can create on the defensive front, I would rather be looking to an RSJ, big body, lower ADOT, than like necessarily a Terry McLaurin. Is he better than Terry? No, he's not even in the same, stratosphere. But I think that RSJ, you can make a case for him at 38. But a lot of my builds, I'm just kind of ending up on this freaking Dan Arnold at 2,800.
Lieutenant
I
Dan
don't feel
Arnold,
great
man.
about it.
Lieutenant Dan.
Lieutenant Dan. I don't know, man. I mean, what are you looking at, Ben?
Nah,
As
dude,
always,
I like
disaster.
Lieutenant Dan as well. We love the punt tight ends here. There's nothing more like my brand than just the cheapest stone worst
Yeah.
tight end that we could possibly play. So I'm definitely in. Now, if he's super chalky, that kind of takes the appeal because last week we got to
Mhm.
play our boy Foster, and it was kind of clear he wasn't going to be super chalky because we didn't have that Waller news. Like if that was a 1 o'clock game, like he would have been 20% higher
Right.
owned than he was. But yeah, I like Danny's projecting well. Sam was on that early, right? He dropped projections yesterday. He was popping. I definitely think he's a good play. RSJ is still too cheap. He should be over. I don't see why he's 3,800, and then some of these other guys are, over 4.5. Like
Mhm.
why is he 700 cheaper than Tyler Higbee? Like I think he should probably be
Right.
4,500. So definitely like those two. I don't know. I think
You're
Gronk.
not on Gronk?
Yeah, I
Gronk's
was
your
gonna say.
brand.
I think it's Gronk, dude, for
You
tournaments,
gotta
man.
do it.
Especially because we'll be playing Godwin and Cash. People will be
Hmm.
focused on Godwin and Evans off the 3 touchdown game. So yeah, it's probably Gronk 4,600. Good pivot range, right? Gesicki at 5K, Dallas Goedert at 47. Those guys are gonna project well.
Right.
So I think it's a good pivot range to go back to Gronk. I do want to shout out the YouTube family. It only took 7 ciders in week 8 for me to remember to change the positions on the sidebar here. So
There we go.
I've been on that all night, accurately
Dialed in.
changing the
Drunk Ben
positions.
is significantly better than sober Ben. Who
Yeah,
would have guessed?
it's
Smooth.
crazy how that works. But so like the video just for that reason. But yeah, we're going back to Gronk in week 8, man. I can already see it.
Hunter Henry revenge game, maybe.
Yup. That's
Ooh.
I was gonna outline
No
the
Janu. If no
three.
Janu.
I don't even care if he plays. Give
Yeah.
me Hunter Henry anyway. I was
That
gonna
sets
outline those
up
three
well,
in a
man,
row.
with how they run their scheme, their defense. Like that actually is a good call. I didn't even think about that.
Mhm. Yeah, that trio I feel like is perfect for tournaments, especially with Dallas Goedert at 47, Gronk at 46. He's gonna come back. He's gonna take red zone targets. We already know that. Brady kind of does this weird thing where he just decides who scores touchdowns and then he gives them the
I
touchdowns.
swear they
Uh,
plan that before the game.
yeah, I
Yeah.
know it's
Like they just
crazy.
draw names and stuff.
Below him, Tyler Higbee. I know you were kind of
No, I like
talking a little.
I just traded for Tyler Higbee in our dynasty league today, Bales.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. You didn't even you needed a tight end, didn't talk to the guy that has
Yeah,
Kyle Pitts, Dallas
I'm
Goedert,
not
and Mike Gesicki.
I'm not getting into this on this
I'm loaded
video.
at tight end. You don't even
Jesus.
talk to me.
Right.
Uh,
Yikes.
no, but Higbee, he's one of the highest in the NFL. Obviously, not near Cooper Kupp, but I think he's top 5 in the NFL in red zone targets. I would have to double check that. I tweeted it out today. Um, I believe he's top 5. At worst, he's top 10 in the
Who are you talking
NFL.
about?
And Tyler Higbee.
Higby? Oh yeah,
Yeah, he
he's
has 11, I think.
second. He's number 2.
Higbee is?
Yeah, he's second place, tied with Evans, and behind only Godwin and Cup.
There we go.
Dude, Tyler
That's,
Higbee. That's
yeah.
crazy.
And
And he's
he
one
has
touchdown
he
inside
has
the
a
10.
ton inside the 10 too.
Yeah, Tyler.
It's not just like he's getting it
I,
from the 10 to the 20.
he is, and I'm looking at this. I'm looking at red zone receiving right now. Gronk is like tied for 6th in targets inside the 10. I don't even remember the last time this guy played. He hasn't played in like
Week
5
3.
weeks.
He played week.
He's still
Jesus
he's still
Christ.
top 6.
Yeah, that's
That's
crazy. And
amazing.
then obviously below those two, you have Hunter Henry. We joke about the revenge narrative. I mean, he scored a touchdown in 4 consecutive as well. You obviously can attack the Chargers with the tight end. So I do think that Hunter Henry makes a really good option here as well. And then, I mean, you guys pretty much talked about anyone else that I'm really considering on this slate. So I think we wrapped up tight end pretty well and can move on to stacks for the week. Ben, start us off with your favorite stacks.
Yeah, Brady, Godwin, Gronk. Definitely I'm gonna go with that one. Darnold and DJ Moore. Man, choosing Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts is so tough because of like Ridley's price. I'm like much more Kyle Pitts over Ridley guy just for my brand, but Calvin Ridley should not be 6,600 on DraftKings. Like it's just a stupid price. So you can use either of them. But that's really my favorite. It's really my favorite too, man. I don't have like a wild card one. I mean, Darnold's gonna be low owned, but I don't have anything crazy that I'm considering right now. I think unless you want to go Chargers, but I think Bucks is like gonna be where the majority of my tournament exposure goes. I think.
I like the Bucks. It's hard not to with literally with what Brady's doing. Like to be pissed that you didn't throw another touchdown when you're up 35-3 is just like a whole new level. That's just so insane. By the way, dude, Chargers are giving up the second most DK points per game to tight ends, and the Hunter Henry thing might be a real thing. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I mean, I mentioned it 100 times. I can't believe it, but I will have a goat water lineup with. I'll probably just double it. Run, if you're gonna do it, just do it. Run a double with Judy and Sutton, and just pray. But yeah, I mean, it's probably chalky. I will have. It's gonna be hard to avoid a Buffalo double because the second piece of it again is so cheap. So your second receiver for that double is 4,900 if you want to go Beasley and Diggs. So it's not prohibitive. You don't need to run it back. You don't have to do that. It's like everyone just thinks, oh, what's the run back? No, like you don't have to do that. You get on the side you want to get on that's going to score a bunch of points. And then I mean, this is all like chalky, other than the Denver one. But how do you not do a Rams, double as well? And you could just go, Cup and Higbee with the data that Bales threw at us. I love that.
Yep, I think that's really good. I even think the Rams, if you are really trying to run it back, like you very clearly have Brandon Cooks there as well. It's not like you're forcing anything. Like if you're going to run it back with Josh Allen, like you're forcing something from the Dolphins because it's very in the realm of possibilities and probably a high percentage that they don't score very much in this game. Whereas Houston probably doesn't score that much, but Brandon Cooks get such a ridiculous amount of their air yards that it doesn't really matter if he finds the end zone. So for me, I think you guys outlined it well. You talked about a bunch of the really good ones. I'll just add, I think you can use Carson Wentz in some type of stack. I would prefer T.Y. Hilton to be ruled out, and then you could do something like Carson Wentz, Michael Pittman, and then bring it back with A.J. Brown. You even could like throw Jonathan Taylor in there if you want to make sure you're really getting the touchdowns and do something weird with that. But that's probably the one stack that really sticks out to me. We have come time for the bold calls. Matt, I'm going to let you go first. If you steal mine, I'm going to be less than thrilled with you.
Oh man, I always know it's coming, but I literally never prepare. One quick thing before bold calls. If I asked, no one would guess this. But the most pass-heavy team on the season, number one pass-heavy team throwing at the highest rate, no one would guess it. Okay, it's actually Miami, which is a mind blower.
Yeah, but I wouldn't guess that.
Yeah, so dude, this game is because you mentioned Buffalo, and maybe you're forcing if you do a bring back, maybe not. You're gonna have Josh Allen just slinging it like he always does, and then you're gonna have Miami throwing it a bunch, with a bunch of clocks, clock stopping on every incomplete, and I just think that can rack up a ton of plays that game. It's a sneaky, decent game, I think, probably.
A little angry to it too, right? Like it's pretty obvious they're gonna get Watson, so it's like angry to it.
No, I agreed. It's like his last, big showing. So, which is amazing.
Dude hasn't even. He's not even bad. Like I kind of feel bad for the guy.
He's really not. Bold call. I mean, I'll just probably stay on brand with what I have for the podcast, I suppose. But I think Judy makes a big return and lights up Washington D. And then I think wide receiver number 1 for the week though is Arthur Juan Brown.
I'll take both of those bold calls. Ben, what do you have for us?
My bold call for week 8 is that you can play Alvin Kamara twice on DraftKings by playing him and Najee Harris, and they're both going to catch 10 balls on Sunday.
I like it. Love the Najee.
Mine is going directly against Matt, kind of. I guess actually, since he's throwing Bridgewater out there, it's not.
Yeah.
Cortland Sutton over 150 receiving yards this week.
I like it.
Which, to be fair, it's not that. I mean, it's definitely bold. It's unlikely to happen, but he actually already did it this season, so it's not out of the question there yet. But thank you all, I guess, for watching. Again, if you liked our video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click the little bell, which will turn on the noties so you don't miss any of our podcasts that we release. And then comment anything you want below, ask any questions that you have. We will be there to answer them throughout the week. Again, thank you for watching and good luck this weekend.